Welcome back. Episode 102 of the Grouch and the Brainstorm. And I'm Mike, and I'm joined today with Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
Hello.
And we are the Grouch and the Brainstorm video edition.
Oh, well, just look at us.
Hopefully we'll get this thing figured out eventually.
Y'all got to be having fun making fun of us doing this because we've been jacking with it, the cameras, and so we hope y'all are enjoying the chaos so far.
But before we go too much further, we're going to find out, Jill, what have you been up to?
Well, always, work. And, our temperatures are getting down into the teens. So
Very cold.
kind of re-winterizing, making sure my boys and my girls. And when I say that, Chunk and Bud and my chicks and everybody is safe and not freezing to death or their water and stuff like that. But that, and I can't really say much more, is going on.
Now, do you let these animals in while you're doing that?
They all have shelter. And so, enclosed shelters. So the pigs choose to stay inside. They have 2 heat lamps and they just love it. They just snuggle up within the straw and the alfalfa and their blankets. Is there something else?
Well, like cattle, the animals are built different too. I mean, their
pigs,
skin's real thick and it's
the
different
pigs
deal,
just
you know?
they like to snuggle and cuddle and be warm. The chickens, I don't know what they do in their enclosed setting. They just stand there on
they
their
do
little.
what chickens do, you know.
They stand on a little perch and just sit there.
Well, what would you do, Matt, if you were a chicken?
If I was a chicken at Jill's house, I'd be spoiled rotten, dude. I know that. I'd have all the corn, or what do they eat? Corn?
No, they have layer pellets.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, and I have a flock block, and
Say that 3 times fast.
and see what comes out.
Yeah.
No, the flock block is a big block full of like seeds,
Minerals and
nutrients, and nuts, and I don't know, something like that. And it's a little treat for them.
Yeah, they're just chilling.
Yeah, some days I let them out to free range, and some days they just stay in their.
They ever go down towards Popeyes whenever you do that?
Mike.
Southern class.
Mike. No, but they go and visit my dad, and that's what really cracks me up because he's in the back of my property. And he was like, well, and he calls them the 5 amigos. And he's like, the 5 amigos were here. They shit all over my warehouse and
then bounce.
well, what they also do, he has 2 cats, so they make a beeline the second I let them out to my dad's to go eat the cat food, and he gets all pissed off because your damn chickens were over here eating, my cat's food, and the cats are scared to death of them. And I was like, that's your cat's damn fault.
Yeah.
But anyway, just simple little, country things.
Living out in the country,
Living out in the country.
Well, you seem to make a pretty good comeback from your ailment you had.
The cold is almost totally resolved itself. That was just a good old-fashioned cold. Stomach still giving me some issues, and I have a follow-up this Friday to see, where we go from there. Because all the big stuff is -4, and that's good. That's good. And I drank a second cup of coffee today at work, and that didn't go so well at all. I vomited at work. How many times I vomited at work today?
I don't know how many times I did that before sobriety, though. That was kind of normal.
Oh, absolutely. But now it's just, little things
We're
are
horrified.
agitating.
We're like, oh, I puked at work. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I did that 10 million times before,
Yeah. So, I don't think I'm going to have to make the change, I believe, to probably tea or something that's not as harsh on the stomach. But I'm looking forward to some answers, and it may be that I have to change my diet completely. And I have changed a lot, since then. So
That happens.
We'll see. I'm getting old, man. This is year 50 for me.
Yeah. You're old.
It's a big year.
It is a big year, and I'm starting to see that things are just starting to
fall apart.
Yeah. Right? No, I was like, what's this ache in my back? What's this ache in my knee? And they're like, guess what? You have arthritis.
You're an old person. You're elderly now.
Everything they said was going to happen did.
Well, my dad's like, William, because, for you guys that are listening, he has never called me Jill. ever. He calls me William, and he has my whole life. And he's like, William, it just doesn't get any better from there. I was like, wow, that's comforting.
It's all downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So Matt, what have you been up to?
Speaking of getting old, man, I had to go. I had to go to the doctor 2 days ago, and then my doctor's like, "Yeah." So we did an alternative on that thing right there. The old colon check it out thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And there's an alternative. I'm not going to go into great detail, but let's just say they send a box to your house. You send it back.
Oh,
okay.
They
Well,
give you the
so-
box you poop in?
Yes. Yes.
You don't send it back. You actually have to go walking through. Like,
UPS store.
This box shows up like a NASCAR with all the
Yeah,
logos.
it says, "Hey, there's poop in this box."
They
this guy's
couldn't. They
carrying.
couldn't make a discrete package. You have to carry Cologuard through.
That's exactly what
through
it's
the
called.
doctor's
Cologuard.
office. You know, and everybody knows you're carrying a box of poop.
Yeah. So that's how I'm living today.
So
You know,
exactly what day will you be dropping that box?
I'm
off?
not sure, guys, but I'd stay away from UPS for the next couple of weeks. You know, I wouldn't show up in there, wear gloves or something.
Man.
Well, you do know there's a kid inside. You don't actually just go in the box.
Yeah, well, I don't know that yet. I hadn't got there. I'm kind of excited, really, and you know, to see
Well, hey,
what's going to happen. You know,
At 50, I don't think you can just go poo in a box. They have
she
to
told me
go-
this had a 3-year warranty on it. Is what she told me. I was like, okay,
3-year warranty.
Yeah, you don't get
yeah.
the option of a box at 50.
yeah, they but I went in there. It's funny, man. She's so awesome, my doctor, and I go all the way to Stonewall because I just love this lady, and she's just very. We're gonna try everything but drugs to get you healthy. So
Good.
eating habits, exercise, all those things. That's her first go-to, which y'all can tell by this physique. Now that we're on camera, I don't listen to her. You know, I don't listen to her. But I was sitting in there and some other things and just getting everything checked out. And Lacey's like, you got to do that. You know, I want them to check this. I want your blood pressure and all this stuff. And so she texted me while I'm in the doctor and was like, what are they telling you? And I said, Doc just said that I'm supposed to be fishing 4 days a week, that it's mandatory.
Sure.
And I'm going to make a full recovery. And she's like,
Take
"You
that
need
to the pharmacy. with
yeah,
you.
yeah. So that's my thinking on it. But yeah, everything's good, man. Just getting old, things falling apart, you know, that kind of thing. But that's okay, you know. It is what it is. So
it is what it is, for sure.
I like a lot of things about being older now. I don't have the physical things that work as well as they used to, but I've gained some wisdom in other areas. So, you know what I mean?
It's a fair
It's
exchange.
a trade-off. Yeah, it's a trade-off. So, yeah, I'm glad to be where I'm at today. So,
Well,
Mike, what about you?
I have not been doing much. I have I will tell you this. I left today. We have, the new video thing, and I'm learning it every single time I have a chance. The past couple of days I've gotten to get off at a decent time, and I mean I'm staying on this stuff until, I don't know, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, studying, downloading, looking through manuals, reading stuff, trying to figure out how to do this and how to do that, and hope it all works out the way I want it to, But and there's actually other things I could do. Is just take a whole day here at the studio, and probably need to bring a couple people with me, just to get it, fine tuned. And we'll work through that. That's not a big deal. But I left Dallas this morning, and I actually live west of Dallas, so I live on the southern tip of Fort Worth, and so I left there at probably, I don't know, it wasn't too early, at 8:30, and it was 14 degrees at my house. 14 degrees.
Wow.
And
Snowing, right?
we had a few flurries, but the closer I got to Shreveport, let's just say the closer I got to Dallas, all the way from, let's say, to Terrell, Texas,
Yeah.
it got worse and worse. There was a little patch there where it was just blowing everywhere. It never got past 16, 17 degrees until I got to maybe Tyler or Longview.
Yeah.
And then when I hit those areas, it was pretty, it started warming up to 25, 26, 27. So,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty
Nice
rough.
warm front.
So
Yeah, we've been over here chilling in our shorts and flip flops and our
25
25
degrees.
degree weather.
that's insane, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just, but it was a little nicer to be warm. I'm glad I got gas when it was 14 degrees, which I should have got gas when it was, whatever. Um, but anyway, what I wanted to talk about today, or actually Jill picked the topic today, not I. So we're going to talk about financial amends, but not just financial amends, right? Is that what you?
Yeah. I mean, like we're familiar with financial amends. A lot of us had made that, have made those. A lot of people haven't because we do have a lot of newcomers that are listening. But we're going to talk about, now that we know that not only we were unmanageable in our addiction, we're like that in our finances as well. And how do I stop repeating that behavior in sobriety? Our last episode, we talked about needs and we talked about wants. Well, our needs and our wants, especially our wants, can get us into a lot of financial problems. And, society and societal standards and, wanting to look cool or whatever it is, a thing in our society that a lot of people just can't afford. And if I'm going to, work the steps and do all of that in every aspect of my life, it's got to be in my finances too. Yeah. And I can definitely say I've made some really poor decisions when it comes to finances in recovery.
I do every day.
Well,
You're looking at about $4,000 worth of podcast equipment, and we don't even have a heater.
I beg to differ because it's pointing right at my legs.
Oh yeah, we got one heater.
Yes, we do. Thank God. Well, guys, this is because my house doesn't have the studio. I don't have central air and heat in my house. My dad kind of feels that that's not necessary. And you can just always put a window unit or a space heater out.
And to his point, it doesn't get like this, but maybe a few days.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I mean, he's just a wild man. He doesn't believe in societal norms.
Yeah, he's my hero, basically. So let's just put that out there,
Whatever the norm is, he's like, nah.
Yeah, I'm with him on that. It's nonconformist.
So I thought about this because I dug a pretty big hole of financial debt when I was out of my addiction. And, and what I do is on my birthday, I look over years past. I look over, what I've accomplished, what I want to accomplish, what I need to accomplish and stuff like that. Because I just had 15 years this week.
Oh, we forgot to do announcements. So you go right ahead, Jill. Keep talking.
Yeah, so yay. And I was really excited.
I was hoping. I figured you'd have your chip in here to show everybody.
Oh, no, it's downstairs. It's in my bag. I have a ritual I do every year. I take the old chip out of my wallet, put it in this silver thingy that I have in my bedroom, and then put the new one into my wallet. But anyway, like I was saying, I made some really bad decisions, and it was tens and tens of thousands of dollars of debt that I had accrued. And at first it was it was beyond overwhelming. I'd been running from creditors, the IRS, and so many people that medical places, I've been running from that for a really long time. Student loans. And so when I got sober, my sponsor made me of course, I need you to print out your credit report. And it was ugly. And every time I looked at it, I just started crying because I don't understand. To me, what I wanted to do is I wanted it all to be paid off immediately. And paying $100 a month to something that's $20,000 is unfathomable. Like, this will never be paid off. I will, and so to me, it didn't seem worthwhile because that's the kind of stuff we avoided. But I started paying things off. I started paying pretty much everything off, and that's really, really exciting, for me, because I now see the light at the end of the tunnel. I have cleaned up all my credit. I have really good credit now, and there's just a few other things that I have to pay off, and they're only just a couple of thousand each.
I like that your sponsor just made you run off your credit report, bro. That's wild. I didn't even know you could do that.
It was part of the financial amends.
Wow, that's a great idea. I just never have you ever heard that?
And
Or,
I
I don't know if I've ever heard anybody.
I don't
that.
know if me and my sponsor ever even discussed credit, but you know, I guess everybody does it different.
We didn't go like in depth on credit, but I mean we talked about financial, but just not. Yeah,
I
it's
mean, like, yeah, I made the financial amends to my
That's awesome.
family,
I mean,
but she was like, let's clean up all the other wreckage.
that worked.
Your
Yeah,
family
no,
turn
it's-
you over to the credit bureau.
No, but I did have some amends. You know, I had to make
Sure,
to them, and those were cute. You know, I sent them, $5 a paychecks. That's all I could afford back then. But after I got finished with that, yeah, we started looking at everything else, and I started slowly paying medical, banks. I mean, you just name it. I was paying stuff off, and it was exciting to pay one thing off and move on to the next. And like I said, I'm towards the very end of that. And guys, this is 15 years later. But I think the biggest thing was making some poor decisions in recovery. And I'll tell you, my biggest one, and I'm a moron, but not really. Okay, just letting you guys know. I'm not like, sad or something about it, but I live and I learn. And so I think one of my biggest, financial mistakes in recovery was, of course, taxes. And it was IRS. I was an independent contractor, and I didn't save enough money. What happened was I was on a payment plan for the year upcoming, knowing that I would have to pay a lot of money. And when I became a state employee, I just stopped paying it because I was like, oh, I'm good now.
I'm not a
They're gonna take
contractor anymore.
Right. They're just going to take the taxes straight out of my check. And they were
Yeah.
like, no. And when it
Yeah.
came tax time, no, that was, no. And I was like, oh man, so that wasn't a thing that I just made up.
That's not cool. Y'all should have said something.
Yeah, and I was like, damn. So I had a pretty nice little chunk of change I had to pay, and I'm still paying it right now because it was just about 4 years ago when I did that, and I was like, it just I want to kick myself in the ass for that.
But you feel better when you do it. When you even like the starting on the paying the $5.
Oh yeah.
That's the trick to that whole thing is not the finalness of it. That's great. That has its own thing of going, I paid it off. But when you can start going, hey man, I'm giving you $5 here every week. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing all I can do.
Yeah. Well, and now I'm making a lot more money than I used to, and I can pay a lot more. But yeah, it's just it's nice, and I know that will be over soon. And once that and two other things are paid off, which are around, I don't know, $1,500 and $2,000, like I will be debt free for the first time in my life.
That's awesome.
And I had to learn how to budget. I had to learn the difference between my wants and needs. I'm not gonna lie, I have a problem with shoes. I will spend some money on shoes.
Says every woman ever invented.
I
And Mike
can't,
Lawson.
dude, I bought
Mike's shoe game is strong.
yeah.
I think I bought a lot of shoes last week alone. I found this new shoe called Oliver Cabell, and I'm just
Loving it.
By the
huh?
way, you remember all them shoes you gave me? I took to rehabs, and them dudes was sporting them shoes. They were like, "Who donated these?" I'm like, "The shoe man."
The
So,
shoe
I like shoes. I got to admit,
Yeah.
I'm kind
Yeah.
of different when it comes to shoes.
And I probably, spend a little bit more money on clothes than, most people, a lot of people do. So, but I do make sure that, one thing that I worry about is my retirement. And I'm not saying I worry about it, that it gives me anxiety or it keeps me from, doing my day-to-day activities. It's just that a lot of us get sober in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and we realize we don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a retirement, nothing.
Well, I'm not passing up a good pair of shoes for retirement, Jill. I'm sorry. Ain't nobody looking at my shoes when I'm 75
Well,
years old.
What?
I'm just kidding.
That's not what I'm trying to say. But anyway, I make enough money. I can put money aside. I can put money in deferred compensation. I can put money into my retirement, and and also pay all these bills at the same time.
And I can imagine, and this is just me speaking, but I can imagine not a whole lot of active addicts and alcoholics are thinking about deferred income and, after tax 401k and all these other things because, think about it, it's just a minute part of life. And we'd much rather have that money for whatever it is we need
or we want
have to have
at that moment, because we are known to be a little impulsive.
a little bit.
Slightly. Just a touch.
Well, and this is the deal. I didn't start my retirement until I was 45.
That makes me feel good because I'm 45. So.
Yeah. And so, I was working, running a well-known women's home here in town. I was just like, I need benefits. Like, I just need benefits. I love my job. I love what I'm doing, but I really would like to retire before I'm 90. Mm-hmm. And so I have a very aggressive fund and different things going on right now because I have to. And so right now that's a need to me. I want to be able to retire at a decent age and, do the things like travel and those little things. It may mean that I can't do a lot of that right now. And I know I have a lot of friends, that have asked me to do some great vacations. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have that kind of money. I mean, I can go to Arkansas for the weekend, right? Or Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's like an hour away.
Right. Go kayaking or something, but I can't go to another country and do those kind of things. And I don't have all the things that I want, and that's okay. I would like some donkeys and some goats out here, but that's not feasible for me right now.
Couple of jackasses sitting
right
beside
across the.
Two jackasses right here with you, Jill.
Well, and I heard this great story on a podcast about these people. They were on a trail somewhere in the mountains, and there were 10 people walking their pet donkeys down the trail, and I was like, goals.
Man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
goals. Pet donkeys down the trail.
Hey, why not?
I can imagine that's not very expensive.
Well, I mean, it is because there's feed,
well,
there's hay, there's fencing, there's veterinary.
Look, donkeys managed to make it for a long time without all that stuff, right? There's a difference between need and want.
Fencing costs a lot of money. And so that's something I'm having to.
That is a sport I never got into.
Okay,
I can't even watch it on the Olympics.
Well, yeah, because it's boring as hell. We're not talking about that kind of fencing. Hopefully my donkeys won't be doing that because that'd be odd. But
fencing donkeys. Hey, I've seen worse. Go ahead, Jill. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. I'm really happy and pleased where I am financially and it's so satisfying to know that I am setting myself up for success in 15 years. Mm-hmm. And that was never anything I thought about in my addiction. I was just trying to make it through the day. And I
think that's our attitude too in early sobriety is like we have that mess and it's like I'm just trying to make it through right now. Like I want to pay this bill. I want, that's where the help comes in. That's why I was amazed. You're like, she said, pull your credit report. I'm like, that's the way to do it.
Well, it was something that was impeding my growth and recovery. I was so anxious because, and it was making me cry. I mean, because the first paycheck I had in recovery, the IRS called my place of employment.
The first one?
First one.
They're waiting on Jill.
Usually takes way longer.
We're taking her money.
It was
they saw that Lampshire. I knew you were royalty.
Please. In my business manager, that's okay. I don't care. My business manager called me and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you. The IRS just called. You need to call them because they're going to garnish your wages." And I was making $8 an hour. I was like, I don't know what they're going to get from me, but that started my first payment to the IRS, and I remember crying because. I'm sorry, I'm making $8 an hour. How do you want me to pay $8,000?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, the minimum we can take is 100. I was like, but I don't have that. Like,
might as well be $1 million.
Right. Yeah. Well, and for a lot of us, it's that all or nothing kind of thinking. Oh, if I can't pay all of it, well, guess what? I'm not paying anything.
Just tell them checks in the mail.
Yeah.
Well, what I used to do was just tell them to go, beep beep, go beep off and hang up.
Or just
on 'em.
answer the phone in a foreign accent.
I can
Hello?
tell you
No, she's not
from
here.
experience, if you're going to tell somebody to beep off, not the IRS, maybe the CIA or the FBI,
Any of the other ones.
Sure.
yeah, just not the IRS.
I was quite a little ruthless. I was very ugly to creditors, and I don't have them calling. I don't have mail coming in threatening to sue me and stuff like that. And that's nice. That gives me peace. It gives me peace to know that I'm working towards something that is not necessarily anywhere near now.
I call that junk mail.
Well, and it was junk, and it went straight in the trash. But you know where that got me? Where I am now, paying off debt. And, I think a lot of people in recovery, what we want to do is get sober and immediately get back to where we thought we should be in life. And so in my mind, where I thought I should be in life at 35 was, making six figures, a very nice car, a very nice house, and all these things that just weren't quite there yet. I didn't realize that I had to baby step to those things like everybody else did, but they were doing it when they were 18 and 20 and 25 and 30.
Well, you also can't necessarily compare your insides with other people's outsides.
Oh no, you absolutely can't. And there were a lot of lessons I learned throughout that period. And it had a lot to do with impulse control, budgeting, just patience, a lot of patience. Because I'm doing great right now, and I feel really good about things. But am I anywhere close to where I thought I would be? Absolutely not, and that's okay because that was ridiculous, delusional type of thinking. But like I said, I have to have some type of self-control. And, I think a lot of us, what I did, another way I got into trouble is getting a credit card. Because there I am getting the things that I want without thinking about paying it off. And then all of a sudden I'm maxed out.
Yeah, and you're stuck with it.
Yeah, and I'm stuck with it. And so I haven't been I'm not buying anything that I don't need. And so therefore I'm able to pay off my credit card debt every month. And that is really nice. And I'm almost done with that.
And you get a lot of good Sky Miles out of that.
I don't have the Sky Miles.
Well, you might want to change cards.
Well, I need to pay this one off first.
Well, yeah, you can switch your balance over.
Yeah, I'm just not messing with it.
Okay.
Because then
Just
I'll
trying to
think,
help you on them trips.
I know. Well, but you know what? That's enticing. And that can get people in a lot of trouble because then I'll think, well, hey, if I buy this, maybe I can go fly to Colorado and see some of my friends, or I can go fly to wherever, and there I go spending again. And so credit cards are bad for me.
Not bad for everybody.
And the thing is, like, I will keep it. And I may buy something, and I'll buy one thing, and I'll pay it off, and that's it. And keep it like that, and not just think that, because what happens, you start buying these things, and you're like, and then the next thing they add up, and you're like, wow, I just bought a couple of things. Well, how do I have a $3,000, balance? But, I think this is a really, really hard thing that a lot of people struggle with, and they may not talk about it.
Yeah. I agree, man. And I think we all, to one way or another, and it's relative to where you're at financially, but I mean, I think we all have financial issues. I don't think you come out of this and getting sober and go, oh, I had perfect financial dealings with everything I did. I mean, there's something along the way. But yeah, and I think the thing with that is we want the you're talking about the impulse and the instant thing. The big part of that is when you identify what they are and you start working at them, it's just like you being sober 15 years this week. You didn't do it all in one day. You did it one day at a time. And that's
right.
the same way you do amends. you just work at them, and as long as you keep taking the bite off the buffalo, as the Indians say, you eat a buffalo one bite at a time. You know,
Native American. Native American.
Native Americans. My bad.
Throwing that
My
out
bad.
there.
I'm not the politically correct one.
I'm
Here
just
in
throwing
case
it
y'all.
out there. Just
Yeah. But you know, that's how that works. And I think we want to, like you said, it's got to be all or nothing. And it's like, oh, I owe them 20 grand, but I'm working at, you know, a car wash right now, and I make $20 an hour or whatever it is. That's not going to happen. You're not going to write a check for that. It doesn't add up. But I think the feeling you get from starting to work on that stuff, it's just like doing the steps for me. Once I started into doing the 12 steps, I felt way better than I did just sitting, you know.
Yeah. Well, what I find interesting is that, you know, we're a society of immediate gratification, and there is a reward to buying these things that we want. I'm not talking about, and sometimes the things that we need, it makes us feel good. So shopping became a really big problem for a lot of people because that makes us feel good. It releases, you know, those feel good hormones and things like that. And I'm not gonna lie, I like nice things. And normally when I do get them, they're from family members because I can't, you know, afford stuff like that. But what
what kind of nice things are we talking about? Jill?
I'm not mentioning anything over the air, but anyway,
Okay. Okay.
Take her word. Nice.
well, you know, the thing is, like, I'm getting that same gratification paying off my debt.
Yeah.
It feels so good to look at my balance go from 2,000 to 1,500. That's my payoff now, not getting something new and shiny and going, oh, this is going to make me feel good, but then it's going to go away. And what am I going to need to do next to get that same high?
Sure.
Yeah, it's probably one of them episodes I need to be listening to instead of participating in, to be honest with you. But I can understand that. So that makes perfectly good sense. I remember whenever I got sober, I had actually started making some financial amends, and really the only amends I had a financial amends to my parents. Mm-hmm. My parents had actually given me some money for my divorce, my very first divorce, and they paid for my lawyer. And I really did not make a huge effort to pay them back until I got sober.
Yeah.
And that I justified that, like in my head, my justification was, well, I've never had to have my parents give me anything up until this age, and now I can just take and I would tell myself whatever it was, right? And I mean, but then I got sober, and that wasn't even something my sponsor had me do, right? It was just something that after a little bit of recovery, I said, I really need to take care of this. This is one of those things that is going to bother me for an extended amount of time. And so actually when the time did come, I remember I paid them back, and I actually paid them back extra for the interest because of my hesitation in paying them back.
Wow.
And
you know what's really cool? You did that on your own.
Yeah, that was not prodded by a sponsor. And I think about the time that happened, the gratitude phase of recovery had kicked in. I was past blaming everybody for my problems my whole life. And, so you get to that point where I can do something to give back and maybe a little more to make it even better, so that, and I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate in a lot of areas of my life. And, I haven't had to get money from my parents, since then. And to be honest with you, I don't know if they have it, and I don't know if they had it back then, but I just know that my dad had actually went out and got it, and it kind of surprised me. And then so my lacking in paying them back was probably going to be a source of guilt. Matter of fact, I'm going to say probably going to be. It was a source of guilt for me.
Yeah.
And so I've started on paying them back pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty cool. Now, one financial amends I can tell you that heck, I don't know if I make it now, but I had a stack of tickets in my speeding tickets in my glove compartment of my vehicle.
Mike.
And yes, I did. And I remember me and my ex-wife drove to Natchitoches, Louisiana. And I remember thinking I might not come out of it. I think I sent her in to pay it, to be honest with
You're
you.
right. You're like, they're gonna put me in the slammer.
I wasn't sure
If you
what
see
was going to
Dog the
happen.
Bounty Hunter there hanging around while you pull up, they're probably looking for you.
But we did. We drove to Natchitoches. We drove several places, and one by one, I paid those tickets off.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. I can say this, but any kind of financial stability in my life, and I'm still not going to claim financial stability, period. I'm sorry, but when it comes to this subject, I am very irresponsible and immature when it comes to money. I just am. But any kind of stability, like, did not even begin until I was sober.
Yeah.
And probably a year or two sober. And I say that, and I look back, and I don't know what happened. I just know that I got sober, and for the first time, this is a kicker for me. We see that promise that says, that financial insecurity, the fear of financial insecurity will leave us, right?
Absolutely.
And that says the fear will leave us. It doesn't say financial insecurity will leave us. The fear of financial insecurity will leave us. And to be quite honest with you, I don't. That's not something I really think about.
I don't either.
I don't think about financial security, and maybe I should. I'll be 52 years old here in about, I don't know, 8 days. And to be honest with you, on my 52nd birthday, I also will celebrate 5,000 days of recovery.
Wow.
Cool.
And for some reason, it just added up to where February 27th, 2025 is 5,000 days away from June 21st, 2011. Isn't that, I don't know. I don't really do coincidences very much, but I think it's pretty cool.
Do you ever
that
think
happens.
sitting in Brentwood you'd have 5,000 consecutive days?
Man, I don't think
5,000 minutes.
I wasn't thinking when I was sitting in Brentwood. That was some
Space
stuff
cadet.
there.
Yeah.
My kids were in the car with me, and I was joking with them last night on the way to basketball practice, and they're hooping and hollering, all three of them boys just being knuckleheads. And I said, look, man, keep this up. I'm just going to stop at Brentwood. I'm dropping all three of y'all off. And the little one goes, what's Brentwood? And I'm like, how do I tell him what Brentwood is? So we had a long discussion about Brentwood.
You're like,
so, well, you could go for various reasons.
Well,
you know?
we talk about financial insecurity and stability and all this stuff, and I got a little story about Brentwood, and so when I got out of Brentwood, and this was not my first time in Brentwood, okay, but when I got out of Brentwood, I was at the desk, and they're telling you, go to AA meeting, take it easy, relax, all. And
I'm waiting for the by the way.
You get to the desk and they're like, by the way, Mr. W, you didn't have insurance. And I was like, what? Yeah, I've had insurance, my entire life. And they're like, yeah, you didn't have insurance, and before you leave today, you've got to pay. And I'm, what? No, I don't owe y'all $13,543. And so, it was one of those things where they said, hey, we'll send you a bill. And that's been almost 14 years ago, and I still haven't got a bill. It's never been on any credit reports. So I'm guessing
Climbed out a window.
insurance that I actually did have at some point kicked in, or somebody seen something, or, whatever. But
Yeah.
I've never gotten a bill for Brentwood. But when I got sober, I owed doctors' offices. I owed a lot of hospitals. I owed those tickets. I mean, I just, for some reason, my mentality was, if I have to go to the doctor, I shouldn't have to pay for it. I have insurance.
That is if you go to the doctor.
If I have to go to the hospital, I shouldn't have to pay for it. I have insurance. If I, if I get caught speeding, I shouldn't have to pay for it. It's,
My brother says he pays taxes, for those roads. He should be able to drive how he wants to.
well, yeah, I mean, if they don't agree with you.
Yeah, they don't like that. They don't agree.
State of Louisiana says different. And so another financial amends, now that we talk about it, or a financial thing that happens though, is, you might be a year in recovery and your driver's license expired and you need a new driver's license, and you go down to the DMV and there's 1,800 red flags, and they're like, oh, well, you got to pay a minimum of, I don't know what the price was, but this happened to me. I went
Happened to
down
me,
there,
too.
and I think this was pretty cool because for the first time in my adult life, I actually went back and I lived my life like a child up until 38 years old. I mean, and I had two of them on my own, right? But I lived like, if you ever see Arthur in the movie Arthur, that, to everything be damned, but I actually sat down on my own without my mother doing it for me, because it would either be my mother or my ex-wife. And I actually sat down and did all the research to go back and get a lot of these flags taken off. So, some of them were for cars I had sold or traded in, and they didn't turn the tags in or something. And I did all of that research. And I tried to get my mom to do a lot of stuff for me after I got sober. And she basically said, Michael, you're going to have to start doing this stuff on your own. And that's for the first time.
Big lesson right there.
No, it will see. That's the thing. The hard-headed, spoiled ass 38-year-old child, instead of saying, Mike, you really do need to do that on your own. No, it wasn't like that. It was, I can't believe she did that. She does for whoever. And I just, in my head, man, and I look back now and I think, what a gift.
Oh, man.
What a gift that was for my mom to do that. There. By the way, and I don't say that facetiously or anyway. There is nothing that my mother could have done better for me as an adult child than to cut me off and say, you got to do it by yourself. I have been by myself for the past 12 years. I've been on the road for the past 12 years. I say on the road, I'm going from town to town, and I started moving in about 2014, so about the past 11 years I've been so on my own, on the road, and Mama wasn't going to take care of it. She wasn't going to call that apartment complex and see if they had a room, and she wasn't, and don't get me wrong, my daughter does a lot of stuff for me. She'll call and cancel a doctor's appointment or something like that, but, I used to have my mom do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and so, man, I just now thought about that. That's why it kind of, I had this wow moment. Thank goodness my mom kind of said, Michael, you're going to have to do it on your own.
Ain't it funny how we flipped the script on our way of thinking, though, from, I can't believe she ain't going to do it, till you look now and go, man, that really got me out where I needed to be. Like,
And that's really interesting that, you mentioned that, because it is a big thank you. Because, my pattern of behavior as an adult child was, I was very blessed, and I had parents that enabled me as well. If I needed something, I'd go to my dad. I needed something, go to my dad. Needed something, go to my dad. And that stopped. Because I'm not going to lie, when I first got sober, Dad, I have all this debt. What am I going to do? Can you help? And he said, no. He helped me with a few things that at the very beginning, like paying off all the parking tickets that I owed. And that was a lot of them. And getting my car, my insurance and all that, and driver's license all reinstated. So he said no. And I remember being like, I can't pay this. And pulling the old, my old manipulative behaviors. I tried. And he said, absolutely not. And you know what? Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, because it has taught me some of the biggest financial lessons of my life. Will I go out and do these kind of behaviors again? No. Hell no. Absolutely not, because that's the kind of stuff that if I get into those old behaviors, start picking up parking tickets and not caring about things like that, and credit, whatever it may be, not paying my bills, then I'm going to get stressed again. I'm going to get nervous again. I'm going to get all these negative emotions. And, those are the kind of things that lead to relapse. I also don't want to be that same bratty, entitled little shit.
And how old were you when you got sober?
35.
See, 30.
34.
If I was 38, like Bill Wilson was 38, 37, 38 when he got sober.
I was 38.
And a lot of folks are 37, 38, believe it or not, when you ask around. You
Yeah.
know.
Clock starts ticking, maybe.
But if you look at Bill Wilson's life, I mean, I was a child. Like, I just don't. This dude at least lived like an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, he paid his bills at a delicatessen. I mean, no, I had,
Yeah, no.
I had Arby's in the back seat. I mean,
Right.
that just doesn't. But in the 12 and 12, it may be the 12 and 12. Don't get me to, it says there are only two sins: standing in the way of our own growth or standing in the way of someone else's growth. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the more mature people have realized that and have learned to say no. And not for any other reason, but this person needs to figure out how to do that on their own, right? I had a conversation yesterday with, and this is not AA related, but I had a conversation yesterday with some coworkers, and it was said, we were talking about, I've been doing what I do for 35 years or 36 years, something, anyway, a long time. And some of the best teachers that I've had over the past, my whole life, man, right? Some of the best teachers, people that actually taught me and trained me, were the ones that wasn't there or wouldn't answer the phone.
Right.
And that's the truth. I mean, it's like you accepted that position, figure it out, bud. And even now in the position I'm in, I think there's like 450 people in the facility, and I directly manage about 16 or 17 of them, directly. And every once in a while I have to back away because I realize, I learned how to call, who to call and how to call whenever some guy ran a forklift through the building or something, and now I'm telling them no, because there's going to be a time where you've got to figure it out. And, and that's standing in the way of their growth. I mean, we feel like we're doing the right thing. And I feel like sometimes even with my son, when he was going through his addiction, a long time ago, 7-8 years ago, I feel like a lot of that was me enabling him by constantly, okay, well, this time I'll take, and if you do that, their behavior never changes and they do not learn how to survive.
Yeah.
Whether it's financially or, even emotionally, I think sometimes,
for sure.
I mean,
Remember the old John Wayne movie, The Cowboys?
No.
no.
Okay.
Oh.
Well,
God, you're younger than us.
I know,
How
but I
do
love
you-
John Wayne movies. So
It's like Clint Eastwood, maybe.
y'all said y'all were old. I didn't know.
Yeah,
Hey.
Not all
But in
West.
that movie, there's a war going on, and he has to drive cattle for the government.
What
so there's
war
no
would
men.
they be driving cattle?
I don't know. It was John Wayne. It was like the Civil
The
War.
War
man.
of 1812.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
neither one. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
finish the
anyway,
story, man.
the point of it is, he has to drive these cattle. He goes to the town. There's no men because they're all gone to war. So he gets a bunch of young kids, and that's the deal. That's his whole crew that has to drive these cattle, and they don't know anything. And they go out there and they go to cross a river, and this kid throws a fit and he says, "I can't swim. You got to teach me how to swim." So John Wayne looks back, picks the kid up, chunks him in the lake. Well, he almost drowns, but he learned how to swim, and that's kind of what the lesson in that movie was. Yeah, you can learn. When it's up to you, you're going to learn real fast.
Yes.
You know?
We do not suggest that to any parents.
No,
out
I'm not
there.
saying that. I mean, that's the John
Everybody-
Wayne. That's John Wayne's way,
Yeah,
know.
makes
And
sense.
I mean,
It's
you
that
know,
tough love kind of.
but it is kind of
stuff.
that thing when you have this situation, you go to people and go, "Hey, can you bail me out?" And they go, "Nope." Well, what do you do then?
Right.
That was
And-
actually the Red River.
Red River wasn't the Cowboys. Okay.
No, it was the Cowboys. That was the Red River he threw the
Yeah,
kid
yeah.
in.
It was. I think it was the Civil War. Anyway, whatever. The men were gone. It was a good little movie. Actually, it's pretty good. But Jill watched it. She just acts like she doesn't. She's making that face. But I know she's a John Wayne and Creed fan. So
Nickelback.
So I will tell this story. You talking about the driver's license and all that stuff. I'd gotten sober, did not have a valid driver's license. Okay. Get a car. It has no windows. It's sketchy, but I have this old car. I have a picture ID that I had made while I was in rehab. It has the rehab's address as my home address on it. Okay. So I moved to Bossier. Most of the mess I had made had been in Mississippi. I get offered a job where I need a valid driver's license. It's becoming time. I know I owe like tickets and stupid crap, right? So there was a little town there where we lived that I got pulled over 2 weeks apart for the same thing. And because I didn't pay it and ignored it and did all that stuff, it ended up being like $1,500 per deal. So it's $3,000 I owe this place. They have my license flagged. So I'm ready to take this job. I have a raise. I'm doing all these things. So I called them at the court and I go, can I come down there and pay this and get it removed off my, she said, sure. I don't have 3,000. I have 2,000. Okay. So I'm like, I got to do it. I got no choice. I take off in this sketch car. It's pouring down rain. I drive into Mississippi. When I get into I-20 and I start to get into Jackson, I get pulled over. I pass a highway patrolman.
Oh my God, Matt.
Mississippi Highway Patrol. He pulls me over in a sketch car, and it's raining in the car, you know, because I have no windows. He comes up with the thing. He says, you got a driver's license? I said, nope. What do you got? So I hand him an ID. He comes back. Now, there was insurance on the car, but he says, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And I said, this is what's happening. I'm a dumbass. I've got to go to court over here. I have no other way to go. I'm driving this car. That's what I'm going to do. I got to get my license fixed. Just told him. He goes, all right, I'll be back in a minute. He walks back to his car. He comes back. He goes, hey, man, be careful. Have a good day. He goes, you got any drugs in the car? I was like, no, you're welcome to look. It's just trash. You know, it's all I got in here. He's like, no, you're good. Lets me go. I go to court. I go to court. I show up. Court starts. I have to wait till the end till everybody's done before the judge will talk to me because I'm not on the docket. So I don't have the money to pay this thing off. I'm thinking they're going to let me do a payment plan. I had $2,000. I owed $3,000. So right at the end, I'd already called the court lady. She gets up, judge, he's here. So the judge calls me up there and he pulls out the stuff, and it was old. It had been a couple of years. And he looks at it and he looks up at me and he goes, what are you doing? He's like, you got a ticket. You got ticketed for the same crap in the same little town 2 weeks apart for the same crap. Like, why would you come back the second time? And I said, I'm a dumbass. I said, I don't know. And that's what I told him, standing in court. He started laughing and he goes, what are we going to do? And I said, man, I can pay $2,000. Can I pay the rest off? I have a job. I live in Louisiana now. Never got into sobriety, never got into any of that stuff. And I just said, I'm just trying to clear it up with y'all, move on, get things better. He sits up there for a minute and he says, here's what I'm going to do. He goes, you have a job with a driver's license. This is the only thing holding your license. I said, yeah, I have to clear this up. He said, here's what I'm going to do. What do you have in your pocket? I said, $2,000. He said, go pay the first ticket, $1,500. He said, I'm going to suspend the second ticket. And he said, on the deal that you have 90 days to fax this lady in my office a valid Louisiana driver's license. He said, you don't have to write nothing on it. You don't have to do nothing. Stick it in the fax machine, send it here to see that we get it, that you got it, and I'm going to do away with the other ticket totally. He said, if you go 90 days and I don't see a picture, I'm going to put the charge back on and you owe the other 15. So I left with $500 in my pocket. You know what I mean? Yeah. And got my license the next day.
But you actually came out $1,500 ahead, right?
Well, I didn't end up owing the second $1,500.
That's what I'm thinking. You came out $1,500 ahead.
But I mean, I went there thinking I'm gonna be begging, scraping, and borrowing.
What state was this?
Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
The one me and Dickie are not allowed back into.
Tell you to take it to the casino and double it.
Well,
and come back and pay your ticket.
When that state trooper got behind me, I was like, "Yeah, there's curtains, boys. I'm headed to the pen now. I guess I don't know, but it works that way when things happen." When we're trying to be honest and go, and I just looked at the judge. I was like, I'm a dumbass. And he started laughing. He was just like, okay. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, man. You know?
Sounds like he agreed with you.
He did agree with me. But, hey, whatever works. It saved me.
Yeah, absolutely.
$2,000. So
well, I mean,
$1,500.
we've told a lot of stories about things we, didn't in prior to, getting sober. But, to everybody listening, how do you, continue to stay financially sound? Is what I want to know. How do you make your decisions now with more maturity, and from learning lessons because of what you had to go through, making amends?
I think it's some of that, but it's the same. It's the same principle of every day. I can make a dumbass decision when I leave here and go buy. I've done it. I've done it in sobriety. Just buy some crap that I have no business. I don't need it. And I'm not a shopper. I don't care about shoes. I don't care about none of that. But if you get me around a Bass Pro and I have access to any credit, money, or anything else, I can do stupid stuff real fast, and it can get expensive in there. And then I go, did I really need 9 different rods today?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So I can do stupid crap like that. And I've learned to go, this is a weakness. I need to curb it. So even if I have to cheat it a little bit, if I have to go to Bass Pro and get something for fishing, I don't carry all my money. I mean, it's almost like,
and that's smart.
I have to know myself a little.
And I guarantee when you were checking out, they say something like this: would you be interested in a Bass Pro Shop credit card?
Oh, yeah.
And you
I've
can
got
get
one.
10% off your purchase
I will tell you something really cool
No,
too.
it's like 15%.
I love to fish. Bobby a couple of years ago, Bobby and I fished together a lot, and get out and I bought a fishing rod. It was a big purchase when I first got sober, and I got this little tackle box and I got my stuff, and as things have gotten better and doing a little better, I did buy a few fishing rods and I started upgrading some of that stuff. Well, case in point, he mentions, hey, he orders new rods every few years or whatever, and they're pretty expensive. And I said, what do you want for the old ones? Because he don't catch that many fish anyway, so they ain't been used that much other than just sit on the deck.
You're talking some mad schmack.
Yeah, I mean,
he may be listening.
But I'm actually going to compliment him. But he said, who wants them? And I said, I do. What do you want for the old ones? I'll buy 10, 12 of those old ones. And he gave them to me.
Nice.
So it was like, even then, it's just, and I still fish with all those. My kids fish with some of them, and but just, I think just being in the thing to going, yeah, I love this brand new rod. It looks cool, but I also have other crap that I have to take care of, and
priorities. Knowing what your priorities are.
Sure. And I'm going to be mad I bought this in the winter when I'm not using it, and I need the money to do something else that is important.
Yeah. So restraint.
Sure.
Learning from our mistakes, things like that. Of course. I just think about our society, which I've mentioned a million times already. A lot of people live beyond their means, and it is a huge problem. Majority of Americans are in debt, and that's what I think what we're trying not to do is to, if we're going to live and do everything sober and do the right thing, like, this is every aspect of our life, including finances.
But I think the ego part too. I mean, with working these steps, that trying to keep up appearances and trying to make yourself look a certain way, like that comes with that ego thing of like, oh, I'm this or I'm that. And, I can honestly say that's never been a thing with me of like, I have to have this because you know what I mean? Like, I never had that issue. Y'all can tell by the vehicles that I drive. When you see me ride by, it just says paid for on the side. That's all it says. But, I mean, that's cool. It's nice to have nice things, but I do think a lot of people feel like they're losing out or they're not living life. And I mean, daggum, you go buy a Super Duty truck, it costs more than a house. So I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I got whatever. I'm just not doing it. But,
the older I get, the less I give a shit about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with toys and having fun and doing all those things. I just think when it becomes a problem where you can't
pay your bills,
you have this false thing of like, oh, I'm riding around in a jet boat, but I don't have any power on at my house. You know what I mean? Like that's where the problem starts. And
agree.
but But anyway, I'm probably not the financial guru that
Well,
needs to be.
I definitely ain't. I can tell you that making my financial amends to the people that I knew I owed money to, right, was very self gratifying. It made me feel better. It's not something I stayed up worrying about or I had to avoid those people. Making new debts or whatever, yes, it happens. It doesn't happen. But my financial amends to people that I really do care about had to be made first. And
Agreed.
I'm thinking I made them. If I'm wrong, somebody will remind me that is in my family and listens to this. And some of them I made anonymously and people don't even know. And that's, so that made me feel better because I did owe someone some money, and they passed away. And so, I'm not just going to go chunking this stuff out in the woods. So, so anyway, but definitely some good stuff here today, guys. Before we go though, we got to make announcements. We do.
Let's do it.
First announcement I'm going to make is that I'm probably only going to use 4 of the scenes that we're going to show in this video today as far as in the future, where we go from the scene they're looking at right now, which is the 3 pictures of us. If y'all look up at the screen, you'll see that. And then each one of these, this one, and this one, probably use one of each of us, and then the one with 3 of us. And I think I'm not going to use any more scenes than that. And I'll figure out a way to put that nice little world background in the back of the, in the back of us, so that, we don't have all the, the saddles back there, Jill. Second announcement is Randy T on the 20th has a birthday. He's sober February 20th, 1996, however many years that is. That is what, 29? Years.
It's a lot.
29 years for old Randy T. Jill celebrated her 15 the last time we recorded.
With a triple chocolate cake. Triple chocolate.
So good.
Yeah.
And there was another announcement. I know we have Intergroup March 1st at the Koala Club.
Mm-hmm. Chili.
Chili.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, Ben's cooking the chili.
I was just about to say, let me guess.
They're having their business meeting now. As we were on this thing, I had to send a financial statement over to them, because I didn't know the business meeting was today until Matt picked me up earlier, and then
How fitting.
yeah, but it's okay. So they trust me with their finances, which is pretty cool considering that I'm sitting on a podcast talking about how financially irresponsible I am.
That's kind of what we do in AA. See, we take your weakness and we make it your strength.
Yeah.
Like that. Hey, but I mean, you think about that. Like, I was in treatment and it just was not doing good, and they were like, "Well, we're gonna make you the room guy or whatever, the group guy in charge of everybody." Yeah, and I'm like, "Well, this is terrible. Like I'm throwing up everywhere." It pushed me to do a little more, and got better at things, and so But
I can't think of the last announcement, but if it comes to me, it'll come to me later. Any other birthdays? Anything you guys can think of?
She didn't mention this, and we're a little bit away, but one I'm excited about that I did the math in my head today at a meeting. I listened to it, is our buddy D, and I don't even know if she listens to us, but she's going to have like 10 years in a couple of months.
Already having,
Yeah,
it's just crazy how people grow
But
up.
she just said her sobriety date, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, she's about to have a birthday.
That's faster than, that's fast.
Yeah.
Her 10 years went by a lot faster than my 10 years.
That's my buddy right there. I love D. Everybody loves D. But
so anyway, we do appreciate our listeners. You can let Matt know what you think. We're still going to release an audio version of every episode, an edited audio version. And after we get a few of these videos under our belt and get it fine-tuned, I will rename another podcast that I have that I don't use, the Grouch and the Brainstorm video, and it'll have the black logo that you will see right here. It'll be on Spotify, but that way I can separate the audio podcast from the video podcast. And it all still goes in our Spotify account. So we still get the credit for the views, and just like we do the credit for the listens, and that way it's just easier because of the file size of these videos. It's just kind of hard for me to transfer. It's not like we used to do here, Jill. We can't do that. it's a big
Oh,
file.
so I no longer. Okay.
You can't do it like that. You can do the audio part, but you can't do the video part.
Got it.
So we do appreciate everyone for listening to us, and we thank you, all of our return listeners. Anybody still wants to be on the show, please come. We don't have to videotape you. No, you don't.
Yeah, we
have to,
do. Yeah, we do.
No,
I'm
you don't.
kidding.
You don't have to be on screen. None of that stuff. We just want you to come and enjoy our time together and tell your story, so that our listeners can hear your experience, strength, and hope. So we have been here at the very cold Rule 62 studios. We've been in Bossier City, Louisiana, and as always, we have been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.